Paul Daner, Mark Shalafoo, from listener questions to some running gags. Insider stories, ambush line, that dad life and respect for flags. Kick off the weekend, alright? It's the Growler Friday show. It's Who Dey Light.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of Who Dey Light. Paul Daner Jr., Mark Shalafoo here with you on a Friday, on Boxing Day. Happy Boxing Day to you, Mark. You a big Boxing Day guy?
Yeah, I completely forgot about Boxing Day. Now I feel bad that I've let down all my Boxing Day friends on this. Yeah. Do you have a Boxing Day flag?
Well, it would just be my Everton flag, because Boxing Day to me is it's a soccer day. It's a football day. At least it always has been in the Premier League. So when I first start really paying attention to what's happening in the Premier League, it's kind of like the trade deadline in the NBA. It's like, oh, okay, I'll see what's happening now in the NBA this year because I don't pay attention to much of the. Sorry, I did to just glossed over your cup victory.
I know. Come on, we should be raising a banner. It's we're champions, so you kind of missed out on that. Some great basketball.
I did. Well, Christmas Day, actually, the basketball was much better than the football.
It was.
Christmas
God,
this
the football
year.
was terrible.
The football was bad. I guess, like, the Lions being eliminated and everyone suggesting this is definitely Travis Kelce's last home game are pretty much the two storylines that were shoved down your throat. Meanwhile, the NBA was just putting out classics.
Yes. Something had to deliver for everybody on Christmas, and thankfully the NBA was there for us because the NFL was not in a big way.
I kind of like it. The NFL's greed in trying to just take over Christmas as well is a little aggressive in my mind, and I don't love it. And yeah, it's selfish. I don't want to work on Christmas, and I know at some point soon I'm going to have to work on Christmas, and that makes me kind of mad. So that if the games stink and like the ratings end up bad and the NBA looks good and the NFL ends up with some egg on their face for this, then I'm okay with that.
So be it. It does feel weird that they're trying to like cop that Thanksgiving Day energy and feel with like the post-game stuff. We're going to make them eat some food and put a big Santa cape on. What are we doing here? This is not right. It doesn't feel normal. And, I'll change my tune if the Bengals are playing a great game and win on Christmas, then sure, I'll get back on board. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to have to pay attention to any serious stuff on Christmas Day.
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff to get to today. Your questions. We've got our stories of the week, of course. We're going to give you your growler bet. We've got all the normal things that you come to expect of us. Dad life always a good one after Christmas. A lot of stories to tell there, so we'll have all of that. Thank you to all of you that continue to fill the inbox with all of your thoughts and prayers and good wishes for Jay and everything that he's going through. It continues to be cool and overwhelming to see all the support that has shown up in the inbox this week.
I know we try and carry on and do these shows. Obviously, it sort of takes a back seat to what we're really thinking about during this time. But you're right. It has been nice to see all that feedback from the Growl Pals. And what I think is kind of unique about that is just doing a podcast kind of does afford that connection that's a little bit more personal and deeper. But I will say, like, there are a lot of famous podcasters out there that are completely different once they're off the mic. You think you know the guy and like, oh, you think that's what his personality is. Then once he's not on the show, totally different person. But what was unique about this was like everything that our listeners were saying is the same stuff that Jay's longest friends were saying. And like those two things lined up perfectly because he is that person. He's that authentic and genuine and just a good dude. And it's nice that comes across as well as it does on the show. And so all of you that have been sending those emails, just know like the thoughts that you have about Jay or your perception of Jay, that is Jay. You guys, you're getting the real Jay on that. And that's what makes it tough.
Yeah, it does. And I would say I've sort of been in contact with him through this week and stuff like that. And he sent in a photo in disbelief. The Ravens had a care package that showed up before Christmas even got there. Like stuff starting to come in I know I've heard from other people around the league and sending stuff. And I think he's hanging in there as well as anyone could possibly expect in this situation. So know that it does have a positive effect, everything you guys have sent and what people are doing. And we'll continue to, again, we'll get you a spot to put that energy towards, I guess we'll call it, once we figure out exactly what that is once the dust settles here. All All right. And we because there were so many emails, we're just gonna kind of pick one to read when we get into the questions portion of the program, because certainly we couldn't possibly, we would fill hours reading through all of them, but we're gonna pick one out of that and get to that here in a little bit. In the meantime, you can come say hi to us and hang out with us on Sunday. We will be down, Mark and I will be down at BetMGM at the Banks, doing our live show 10 o'clock before the game against the Cardinals. We will be giving stuff away, doing all the fun stuff we normally do, games, prizes, tickets to the Browns game, Grader shipper. I've got hats. I think I still have a pair of gloves and a hat from the Festivus for the rest of this episode, which was amazing. And in fact, if you want to get out and feel like I meant to come to the last one, didn't have a chance to, I do still have grievances. We'll allow it.
Yeah,
I'm okay
we'll take
with
some
whatever.
grievances. Yeah, for sure.
We'll take grievances. We'll take questions. We'll take whatever you want. We're going to just be hanging out, doing games, getting the exclusive parlay bet going. My exclusive parlay this week, the boost that you can get just by coming to our live show. I got Bengals covering 7.5, T touchdown, Chase Brown touchdown. They're going to give a bunch of extra juice on that parlay if you want to come in, and you can get that at the window there at BetMGM if you come down to the show. So even if you just want to pop in and get that extra boost, you can do that. Come say hi. We'd love to see everybody down there. We'll be down at BetMGM. We'll start at 10 and we'll go to about 11.
It's a great hang, and fortunately, it should be a little bit warmer this Sunday. It won't be -2 degrees like it was last time, but people still came out, so we love seeing everybody at these live shows. It's always a good hang, so come down. We've only got 2 left this season, so let's make them count.
Absolutely. All right, what's your favorite story of the week?
Well, it's a Christmas show, so I wanted to talk about what Joe Burrow got his offensive line. That's always a fun story every single year, and you broke the story last year on the katanas, and now nobody picked up in your stead and reported on that. It did not become a big story. I was waiting all day for that. I was like, oh, we're going to find out what Joe got the offensive line. He wouldn't say. He just kept it to himself.
Maybe
Joe,
he didn't like it got out
something.
last year. I don't know. Maybe he didn't like that it got out last year. So it was very cool. Our bosses were like, look, there was an availability on Wednesday later in Christmas Eve. We had plans. Everything was going on this week. They're like, yeah, don't bother. You don't need to go down there. We had plenty of content already up. And so I was nice to take those days off. I really appreciated that. But I was fully prepared for offensive line gift news to break. And so I pre-wrote, I had to go back through last year's Katana's story and be like, what happened? What was said? And I loved the Orlando Brown line of, it's the most ancient form of respect from last year's story. I forgot how great that whole Katana day was. But yeah, so then he came out and at his press conference, I had that whole background written, ready to send it to our bosses if they needed to write off of it. And he just said, no, he wasn't going to say anything. So
yeah, it's a real letdown. You know what, Joe? Give us something.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you missed 9 games. You kind of changed the narrative of this season. Give us a fun little story for a couple days. I know you don't love talking to the media, but he could have thrown that out there, or at least arranged a leak so people know. You don't have to be the guy that's just taking credit for, like, look what I did. But, there's other ways to get it out there. Yeah. And I think you just saw a sword last year in the locker room, right? Like, that's how you kind of came on it.
Yeah, there was. I'll say this. It's not often someone's carrying a sword through the middle of the locker room. So it stood out a bit. You know, I mean, it wasn't like I was doing some serious detective work. It's like, hey, he has a sword. Why does he have a sword? And that was kind of how it all went down. So I don't know what it was this year. I know in the past he's like giving them cruises, and then we got a chance to talk about how Joe doesn't like boats. And we had cruise debate that one year. Like, who likes going on cruises and who doesn't.
Yeah.
And so, and then we very much loved the idea that Joe gave a gift to his offensive lineman of something that he has no desire to do and doesn't even like doing at all, which was just great. I always like the discussion. It's always interesting. His mind obviously goes to very interesting places with these gifts. So we could have used it. We'll have to see if we can get more into that. I am going down to the stadium today, so I'll see if I can't poke around a little more and find something.
Look for weapons. There could be weapons, because he said
weapons.
Yeah, you never know. He said he topped last season's gift with the sword, so maybe it's crossbows this year. Maybe it's armor for the swords. Who knows? But it could be weapon based. Do you think
like
that?
a full knight's costume with chainmail and like one of the that would be pretty amazing. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, or maybe it is just another sword, just like a medieval broadsword this time, and he's just going to keep getting like newer and newer and lightsabers next year. Just keep evolving your swords and just keep going on that route. Do you think this season he had to get Joe Flacco and Jake Browning to chip in because those guys needed those offensive linemen for a few games too, so they got to take care of those dudes. Do they all like sign the card together? Do you think?
No. Here's let's see. I'm going down the over the cap page right now to check out the salary. Joe Flacco's cap hit this year, 1.8 million. Okay. Jake Browning. Let's see if I can find Jake Browning in here. There he is, 1.03.
Okay.
Joe Burrow, $45.9999 million cap hit. So no, they're not needing to contribute to the offensive line gift fund. That's his job.
It's the thought that counts.
That's $275 million man job. You get that one.
You know what though? What about those quarterbacks on rookie deals? They've got to do car commercials to get their offensive line gifts and
Brock
stuff.
Purdy got paid.
He did eventually.
He should stop doing car commercials.
I feel bad for those young dudes because the offensive lines often there are one or two dudes making more money than them anyway, and they still have to be the one. Here's your present. And they look around the league and they see people getting $40,000 watches or ancient katanas, and then your rookie quarterback's like, "Well, I got you guys some Chipotle gift cards. I hope you guys enjoy these. Thanks for protecting me."
Well, that's the problem. If you're playing with a quarterback on a rookie deal, you got to hope that your salary's higher. And that you're gonna have to sacrifice a few things because of that. That's just
it's a bummer at Christmas time for sure. What was your story this week? Your favorite story?
You know what I love? I love how stupid the Pro Bowl is. This is my
stupid.
annual. It's stupid. It's my annual crusade every year. Some years I just kind of give up and I just fire off an annual reminder. Pro Bowl and the voting process, very dumb. Don't get mad about it because it's stupid. I mean, when you have no disrespect to fans, but look at the fan voting. Every single category had a bear in the first place because for whatever reason the Chicago fans just came out in the fan vote, and that's a third of the vote. And then you have a third with coaches, and you got players involved. That's fine, but it's just dumb. The dumbest part of it though is that they put real contract incentives tied to Pro Bowls. And then at any time, don't even get me started when someone starts mentioning Pro Bowls with the Hall of Fame voting. Get that out of here right now. The Pro Bowl has been a sham forever. Okay, so I don't want to hear about how many Pro Bowls somebody made, because I can tell you story after story about a guy that had no business being on the Pro Bowl or not being on the Pro Bowl every single year of the beat that I've been on. So let's stop doing that. But this year, I know people get mad about snubs. People want to talk. Who got snubbed? Snubs.
Yeah, there's always snubs.
It's always snubs. There's no other way. Pro Bowl oversights. And we don't even bother going to the thesaurus with this one. We just snub. That's it. I mean, obviously, DJ Turner is where you start.
Yeah.
With the Bengals. I mean, he's the one. This is what happens. I remember in Andrew Whitworth's earlier years, so early for me on the beat, you were probably around the 11, 10 when his first Pro Bowl was, but it was way later than it should have been. But I remember sitting down for a long time with Whit talking about how do you get to the Pro Bowl? How has he not been voted? Yeah, 11. He was great because let's see, he came in the league in 06. He didn't get a Pro Bowl until 12.
That's crazy.
He was great all in that period of time, right? But the Bengals weren't really as much on the radar, and Whit wasn't as much on the radar. So it took to all that time for him to get to a Pro Bowl. He didn't even get another one until 2015. And the same thing happened in Geno Atkins. It took him a while to get really on the map where people were seeing what he was totally doing. Well, I guess it was just his rookie year. He did get a Pro Bowl his second year. But it's just one of those where people don't. It usually takes a year to get into the conversation, or it takes something like a holdout or a trade request or something that all of a sudden makes you part of the conversation that people think, oh, he's good. It's sort of like, Trey Hendrickson is never really has gotten the proper respect that we thought in Cincinnati that he deserved in recent years. Yeah, he was like making Pro Bowls and stuff, but he wasn't talked about amongst the best of the best pass rushers until all the contract drama started happening. Now he's always mentioned up there, even though his numbers haven't totally changed. I mean, his pressure rates and all that stuff have always been really good. It's just funny. I mean, that's just sort of what the Pro Bowl is. So for DJ Turner, I think this is that. I think if DJ stacks another season next year, especially if he throw in a little trade extension eligible drama, maybe just like cause a little bit of a ruckus this summer.
You got to get in the news somehow. You got to
get in that news cycle.
Get your name out there, because it is a campaign at this point. It's not based on just the play, because he did have a Pro Bowl worthy season. He just doesn't have a Pro Bowl worthy name. Part of that is because he didn't really do enough last season. He came into this offseason where we were having those debates, like, is he actually good at football? And then he had one good training camp practice. So it takes people a while to warm up to Bengals for sure.
Yeah, and the bigger problem is you get a lot of guys. A bigger problem than guys not getting in early is guys getting respect and hanging on late. I mean, Geno's another good example of that. Like at the end, Geno didn't deserve a couple of those Pro Bowls in terms of what he was doing compared to other guys. But it's just conditioned. This guy's a star. This guy's great. He deserves to be in there. I think Denzel Ward at corner kind of got that this year. I don't want to. It's hard when you get into some of these positions that don't have definitive stats or are very dependent on others. It's hard, but there's some stats you can look at, and this has been a down year in almost all respects for Denzel compared to what he's been. He only played, you're talking about eight passes defense versus he had 19 last year. If you're looking at interceptions, he's got one interception. He's had multiple every other year of his career. He's a great player, but like you just kind of get conditioned for that guy to go in when maybe other people were deserving. I think that's part of what happened with DJ.
What other snubs that you think should have been getting the nod from the Bengals?
Yeah, and DJ ended up an alternate, I think a third alternate, T a second alternate. So they're on deck. And so T is interesting. I mean, receivers are a hard one to crack, and there's a lot of good receivers. Like it's, Jamar getting in there is deserved, but if you don't have pretty massive numbers right now, it's a hard argument. But Jamar certainly was asking for it, and I saw him tweet about how T needs to be in the Pro Bowl, and he may end up in there. I mean, those things, you end up pretty far down the line by the time the Pro Bowl games happen. That will be cool. It'd be cool to see T and Jamar actually at the Pro Bowl. Remember a couple of years ago where T was like in the front row in Vegas, and after Jamar scored a touchdown, and there was such this cool like buddy moment. He was so happy for his friend. It'd be cool to see T just be a part of those things.
Yes.
And he's kind of built for the Pro Bowl games. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure.
It's just throw it up to T flag football style.
Yeah, a couple highlight reel catches in the end zone. Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
So I think he'll probably work his way into there depending on what happens with the other guys. What would be cool, and I don't know if you do this, if Jamar gave up his spot so T could, if it came down to
like a Rudy moment,
if T was the next alternate and Jamar was like, oh, my knee hurts, I'm gonna pull out so that T could get in and participate, and then Jamar could be outside. I'm gonna recommend that unselfishness to Jamar next time we talk to him.
Yeah. You know what? I think it'll be even fun for the TV coverage because they're desperate for anything cool to talk about during that because of what the game's become. And every pro sports all-star game has the same problem. But yeah, that would be a cool little like, oh, he gave up his spot for T. Higgins. And, they could show him in the stands just like the opposite of that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Would be a lot of fun. I'm just here creating content for the Pro Bowl games who probably need anything they can do to get eyeballs on it. I would say, a name that isn't there yet, and then the early season really hurt was Chase Brown. But you can see how he could be the next guy. Every year before the season starts, I like to go around the locker room and ask who they think is going to be who will be a first-time Pro Bowler this year, just to who the locker room has been noticing is high on before the year starts. And certainly T has kind of dominated that in recent years. But Chase Brown would be an answer that you would be saying pretty soon. I know he was he's been in a little bit of a rotation, but man, I mean, just the yards from scrimmage the second half of the season, once they finally got through the muck of the early year mess, like once you kind of got him a quarterback.
Yeah. It stabilized a little bit.
Yeah. The Browning situation it threw off everything with his game and their progress. And then once they kind of really got going with Flacco and the O-line being better, and certainly since Burrow has come back, they have taken off. He's just always kind of had a great connection with him. So you could see him, his numbers aren't there yet this year, but he's certainly one that his level of play has looked deserving.
Maybe Miles Murphy, if you just judge him on the last few games and what he's had to overcome over these early years of doing nothing and just letting everybody down, that champion for him, maybe he's worthy of a nod as well in that situation.
Maybe one day. That's right.
You know who's a big Pro Bowler in my book every single time is our guy, Eric Sztanyo.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's our guy. He's our guy.
Yeah, we've said it enough. You guys know who he is.
Do we even need to do the bit? Like, do we even need to go through the whole thing about how great Sztanyo is? Like, everybody knows this by now. I mean, how many Growl pals have to go buy or sell houses with him where they just sell themselves? I mean, we can go through all the numbers. We can talk about the Circle of Excellence Award or all the 5-star Google reviews or anything about how he is like the guy at Keller Williams. We can talk about his subscribers on his YouTube page, how much good stuff he does over there. Like, I can do all that again. Yeah. But like, all I can tell you is like Growl pals keep working with him and have great experiences. They buy houses. They recommend people to sell, and it keeps going great. And I think that kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, he's one of us. That's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. He listens to every show. He's watching every game. He comes down to some of our live shows. And when you're buying or selling a house, that's one of the biggest financial moves that you'll make in your life. You got to go with somebody that you can trust. You don't want to use an old friend who failed at their marketing jobs and now they've become a real estate agent. And that's not going to really work out the best for you. So get somebody that knows what they're doing. And that is our guy, Eric Sztanyo.
Yeah. So if in Cincinnati, we all know it. When you got number 9 as your QB, everything changes. Confidence goes up. Decisions are sharper. Winning feels inevitable. That's what it's like working with Eric and Team Sztanyo. He's a veteran wisdom plus Burrow level belief when it's time to make a move. Team Sztanyo, find your home. Strengthen your family. Make sure you hit him up. info@teamsztanyo.com. Email him directly if you want to. If you know anybody that's buying or selling, or you want to do so yourself. All right. What questions do we got here?
Well, let's just kick it off with this one from Paul C. He said, there isn't really a question in here, but I felt compelled to send along my thoughts and wishes to you all in light of Jay's situation. Paul said it on Tuesday's pod that people feel like they get to know you, and it's so true. I take my dog on daily 90-minute walks through the forest. I'm the one who sent in a question about being a full kit wanker when I go out in all the Bengals gear, and I listen to every second of the content you provide. Do I enjoy hearing people vent about the front office, Mark's tweets, analysis of the historically awful defense? Of course, but it's more fun than actually watching the games. Then it's more fun to actually hear about Charlie's ghostly visions, or Paul's daughter fighting off a bear, or Mark trying to feed his kids to sharks. When you had Dan Horde on and Mo told the story of him being at the bar next to the salad lady, and Dan said, the big question is, what does salad lady call you? I laughed so hard and so loud that a group of women on the trails turned around and wondered what on earth I was doing. And certainly learning all about Jay's life, his college extracurricular activities, his driving habits, and his diet. My heart breaks for him. We're the same age. I've been married to my wife for 35 years. I can't even imagine. You become people we know through the genius of your podcast, part of our weekly routines. I thank you for the content, the serious football information, but also the friendly and heartwarming peek into your lives. My best wishes are with you all. I can't conceive what Jay's going through, but I will be listening to him the second he is back, and we'll be thinking about him in the meantime. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and look forward to another Marco Wilson Tuesday in 2026.
First of all, that is an incredible email. Thank you very much. And I think those were echoed amongst a bunch of other people here in the inbox, and so we appreciate that. And it's really, really cool. Like, we don't have to do podcasts. Like, we didn't have to, like, when Jay and I had the old hear that podcast growling thing kind of break up. We could have just said, that's unfortunate and let it go and go about our lives doing other stuff. But like, we loved stuff. We loved that we would hear from people about these things all the time. We loved the response. We loved the community it was creating. And we're like, we don't want to lose that, And so keeping it going, doing all this stuff, like that's the driver behind all of this, is the community it creates, the connection, the good that we can do, whether it be for Growl Pal Spotlights, whether it be for local businesses, whether it be for us, whether it be for you guys, just for Bengals fans, get-togethers, like, or for rallying around people when they need help. Like, it's just really cool. It's kind of very Cincinnati thing, and I love it for that reason. And so this is a great example of this email. Thank you, Paul C., for that.
Yeah, and thank you everybody that sent in one that was similar. We're sending all of those along to Jay. So if you wanted to send some well wishes and thoughts, we will make sure that he sees those.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a football question?
Yeah, let's do some football.
All right. So we got a pretty long-winded one here from Jason. He kind of talks about how last season the team went into the offseason with clear priorities, great offense, defense needed help, and instead all they did was get rid of Lou Anarumo and get some terrible free agents. He says he's been a fan his entire life, kind of proves that through about 4 or 5 pretty long sentences here. But let's get to the real question in here. He says, can you sell me on why next season will be any different? One caveat, you can't say because we have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. 2024 already showed us that you can have those guys playing at historical levels and it's still not good enough. It's the same front office with a terrible track record of drafting and lack of free agent activity. Same coaching staff that can't seem to look like they have it together until at least the bye week. I need to be able to go into next season thinking they can contend or even win the division and not think we're just moving one step closer to Joe turning into our next Carson Palmer. So how would you sell him on this offseason potentially being different?
It's much simpler would be my selling point. I would start there. Like last year, I remember, for those that remember back this time, or I guess January last year, we just talked about how complicated this offseason was going to be. There were a million big, huge steps. You had the T thing, you had the Jamar thing, you had the Hendrickson thing, you had the stadium thing, you had plus you had the new defensive coordinator. How was that going to fit? They needed to figure out free agency. What was that going to look like? I'll just say it was complicated. And there was a lot going on there, and they clearly were overwhelmed by it. Like, let's just call a spade on that. Like that's what happened. That's how you end up at Marco Wilson Tuesday. This is not complicated. Okay. This is, I'm not going to call it simple, but some might. Okay. Fix your defense with some free agents and go draft well. There's not a lot of other stuff. Like we've talked about the extensions and things you can do. Like you can get to those in later, and it doesn't have to be immediately when the season ends. You can get to those later if you want. You can do them early, but whatever. Like fix the defense. Okay. Put some real players in there. Go get some free agents and plug them into your defense. Draft well. Okay. Maybe be creative. Maybe there is a trade involved. Maybe there is a couple of extensions. Like that's all good. Focus on the defense. The offense is in a good place. When that's the case, I just think it's simpler. So if I'm selling something to you, that if you just want the task, that I think the degree of difficulty, particularly when we consider the history here where off-field contracts have been a little bit more problematic than signing free agents. They've been able to sign free agents. They've had quick attacks, focused attacks. Go back to the Kappa Karras year, right? Immediately, first in the pool, fixing the offensive line after the Super Bowl.
With a clear need that year, yeah.
Clear need. They pinpointed their guys. They went after them. They were the first ones to go get them. You can do that. Well, there's no reason this year can't be a linebacker and a defensive tackle immediately in. Found who you need, or a nickel, like whatever, or a safety. There's no reason that it can't look like that. And get in there, get pieces to fix the defense immediately early in free agency. They've done that before. I think there's a recognition they need to. There's money to do so. They don't have to worry about the offense. I think the simplicity of it sells me that they can pull that part off. And then I think you'll have hope. And you're just, you're always banking on the drafts. And I wrote about the 23 draft. We've talked about the 23 draft here. All those guys going into their fourth years, This tends to be the big value year. When you point to a team that is overachieving or playing really well, I'm probably going to show you draft classes that were really good from 3 and 4 years ago. That's when those guys are giving you your most value. They have experience. They're on rookie deals. And you've got them out there with that advantage. And the 23 draft class being a real building block helps that. So I think that you can take those two things and have some solace that maybe they can execute this.
I do also think, I know the two receivers took up a lot of the attention when it came to those big deals, but I think the Trey Hendrickson drama too was another one that kind of weighs on you, because it's like, do we trade him? What are the offers? Do we extend him for a couple of years? What does he want? He's not happy with anything. And it became kind of a messy situation. And I know looking down the line a little bit, it was always like, how do you replace a guy that is so high in the defensive player of the year voting and just such a game wrecker on defense? It's a little bit clearer this offseason. We've seen what life is like without him, because he hasn't played for this last huge chunk of the season. So at least you go into the offseason knowing like, all right, Myles Murphy can be a player. He can probably start for you next year. You have a few pieces that, you didn't feel as certain about going into last offseason. And at least now it is a little bit cleaner. I can't imagine that they're going to go through the same song and dance with Trey Hendrickson and, try and get him on a value deal back because he got hurt, or maybe other people are afraid of his age. I have to imagine that they're just going to make a clean break there and just say, hey, we have this money. Let's now try and use it on somebody else.
Well, Trey Hendrickson is never signing another piece of paper on purpose with the Cincinnati Bengals unless he's absolutely forced. I mean, there's no way where he's
tag?
like, you know what? No, I don't see it. No.
Yeah.
No. I think everybody is under recognition to end this and be done with it. I don't know it's fun to sit here and say they should go and tag and trade him, and they could do that. To me, this goes back to, let's focus on the baseline here. Okay. The simplicity.
Right.
Let's keep it simple for these guys. Like, I just don't see them executing that well. And it's harder to execute than you think. And so the most likely scenario feels like just a clean cut on that. But again,
that's when they've had the most success too. So let's have the money. There's obviously been a lot written about how the front office is not as robust as some of the others around the league. So let them focus this offseason.
Maybe they do say, screw it, we don't care. Franchise tag you, and we are going to send you to the highest bidder by whatever date. Like, it's not like it can't be executed. It's just a matter of, do you want them to have that hanging over them as well? Maybe this is just me. Maybe it's just my own fatigue. I just want it over. I want it over. I want us, the next time we talk about it, to be like, oh, here's the deal that Trey signed with the 49ers or the Bills.
And thank you for your time and service here, Trey.
Right.
And,
a great player.
Yes.
A great player in Cincinnati. Best free agent signing of all time. It just feels over and be done with the drama. But
if they tag them and try and make them play on that, I'm going to jump off a bridge. Like, it just would be insane to have to deal with that. Like,
you won't be alone. I'll just say that.
That would just be, that's got to be an easy one for them to avoid. So if it is simpler, that's probably the selling point on how this could be a much different offseason.
And again, when we talk about all the problems they have, they can't afford that mess again. Like a $34 million hit. That's would be almost their whole save. They need multiple starting level pieces. They don't need one luxury edge who won't want to play here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually thought about forcing that, don't force this guy to do anything.
Yes. What have
we learned? So
right.
I would like to think that would not happen. I do not believe that will happen, but again, it'll be one of the things we'll watch and see how that plays out when we get into tag season in March.
There is big running it back energy in this franchise. So Brian wants to know if there's a spot for another Brian to come back to this franchise and bring Brian Callahan back in some capacity.
Yeah, I would think it would be the most likely landing spot for Brian.
What role would he get? Just like
we'll see what
shakes out.
Staffs shake out. I mean, who knows what's going to happen here?
Defensive coordinator.
Right.
Get rid of Lou and then get rid of Al, and now it's Brian's job.
Yeah, I think we'll see guys get jobs elsewhere. I mean, certainly Pitch is going to be somebody that is at least on the radar. We've seen him on all these lists. He's deserving of head coach interviews. At least I think you would know at that point that you would have an easy fix if Pitt, which before that felt very unknown what they would do if they would have lost, like last year, if Pitch would have gotten a job. I think that they would have had to have been figuring out something from the outside even. You don't want that. So I think, yeah, if it's not that, maybe there's a different secondary role, or there's an addition to the staff, a position that doesn't currently exist, an assistant to the head coach type deal, where he kind of is his right-hand man, essentially overseeing the entire operation. Whatever that is, I certainly think it would behoove this organization to bring somebody. I know that it didn't go well for him in Tennessee, but he was a smart mind, someone that Zach implicitly trusts, someone who knows Burrow, has trust with Burrow, comfort with the organization, all of these things. He would help you.
Yeah.
In whatever, if you create a role, he would help you there. Now, what that looks like, I don't know. You got to let coaching movement season shake out and see what that looks like. But I certainly think there's interest there on both sides.
General manager. There's a need there. Let's bring him
right.
in.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Now, would it affect the dynamic at all? Like, Dan Pitcher's done a great job here. He's
Yeah.
building a good offense. He's done a few different things that Callahan didn't do. Does that change that dynamic at all if Brian does come back in some sort of consultant role that's below him, and now they're kind of like switched in the pecking order?
Yeah, I don't know. It would be an interesting conversation. And to be honest, to be totally forthright, like it's not one that I have had in terms of how those dynamics could be handled with anybody involved in that, other than I do think there's interest in figuring out something that would work. And those guys all are tight. I mean, it's not like bringing somebody who the other two guys hate into, start wars between them. I think there's always been a cohesive working relationship and friendship between those guys. I mean, Callie was one of those people really trying to help Pitch when he was going through his process of being prepared for head coach interviews if he got them, and like they're tight that way. So all of those guys, I don't think would have a problem if they recreated some sort of setup. Now, I don't. It is harder when you think of a world where all of a sudden, like Brian Callahan's, dictating the offense down to Dan Pitcher. Like that doesn't feel fair. But again, I think you let things shake out and see what it all looks like and just figure it out from there. And maybe there isn't a spot. And Brian has a lot of opportunities he could go seize elsewhere, I'm sure. But for me, it's like, let's just see how things shake out. This would be a good landing spot for him.
And even if he does end up in a role with a different team, I think it's only a matter of time. Like if Pitcher does get that head coaching opportunity, then even if Brian is an offensive coordinator somewhere else, it's going to be hard for him to pass up coming back and taking over the Joe Burrow offense again. That does seem like the most likely play down the line. All right, this one's from Austin. He says he has a few grievances to file as he was not available for that live show. He could come to this next one, but instead of chambering we'll get to those. He says, Paul, in light of his catch and then unfortunate injury yesterday, I am demanding that you release the Grandy files. The people need this story.
Yeah.
Of course, referencing that you wanted to write the Cam Grandy story.
Yeah. And it's still half written from camp. I was waiting for a little bit. Maybe I'm just waiting for a little more of a moment from Cam this year. I did appreciate his catch. It was nice to see him get a catch, though.
He also says, as a sicko who listens in on almost every Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase press conference, and my wife is also one of those sickos. She's always like, "Oh, did you listen to Joe's press conference?" It's like, no, I didn't. I'll read about it. Paul will write something, and I'll read Paul on The Athletic. But no, yeah. So those sickos are out there. He's one of them. He says he needs to know who is responsible for all of the background noise. I understand we used to complain about not being able to hear the questions from reporters. And believe me, I'm thankful they got a new mic. However, every single week, there is somebody hammering the keys mid-answer from Burrow or some grating, scraping noise. I can only imagine as somebody dragging a chair back and forth across the room. Is it Charlie? Is it the Phantom of Paycor? Who's responsible for the noise?
Yeah, I've never I always hate this. I have done it before where something might be said in here that you're gonna need to get out like in that moment. Cause there's this rush when Joe says something on those press conferences, if we don't tweet it live, guess what? Aggregators on the stream are beating us to it. And so it's like it's nobody wants to be in there making noise, but the nature of these things being streamed live and then us getting essentially you can get beat by people that are just watching it at home and so it is a little bit of a give or take there. I tend to be a phone person to try to not make, but I understand like it's slower for me and I don't tweet as much from the press conferences because I try not to. I try to do a little bit more focus on what they're saying. Not that those other people don't, but yeah. And the mics, like I'm not totally sure the mic setup in terms of if it's someone close, if it's someone far away. There's multiple people with computers in front of them. But I have heard that and been like, ooh, you can the typing comes through clear. Whereas before you didn't hear it because you couldn't hear us and there weren't mics up there. So this is what everybody wanted. Everybody wanted the mics. And now it's like, no, I don't like what's on the mics. Well, that's also part of it too. I'm with you. I don't know that there's an easy answer to it. Because when everything's streamed out there live, there is a lot of pressure on those of us there to get stuff out if something really interesting is said. And the quickest, easiest way to do it is to have your computer in front of you.
Well, and some of these reporters, they have ancient technology too. So it's not the latest and greatest keyboards that are nice and quiet. They're really hammering away on these typewriters. In his last part of his question, I did like this. He said, could there be a glue guy of the week? If not, I get it. But Dalton Risner deserves honorable mention. Just watching YouTube highlights, let alone the actual game. Anytime there's a big play, he seems to appear out of thin air, celebrating downfield. And then he talks about how he's had a pretty good season. Do you think there's a way that he's back on the team next year? Do they bring Risner back on that right guard spot?
I would certainly think they'll try to. I don't think it'll be some super expensive ticket there. I think he seems to have been pretty happy here, judging from what we've seen, and he's fit pretty well in the offense.
Good season.
I think there's going to be a lot of value in keeping that line intact. And I like the idea of Dalton Risner. And I like the idea of keeping it the way it is right now. Like I would keep Lucas Patrick. I would keep Dalton Risner. I would keep Jalen. You have Jalen Rivers and say, hey, if Jalen Rivers improves, if he has a year 2 leap and he can become better than Risner, then good for you. And you have those guys as your 6 and your 7. Patrick has the versatility to be Ted Karras's backup, which is valuable in case anything happens to him. Ted has been incredibly, healthy and available during his time here. But like having that a veteran that knows what they're doing, knows the system, I like that a little bit more than something like a Matt Lee behind, just by nature of what that position is. Not because he couldn't necessarily do it, but I just think knowing the calls and the checks and having seen everything in the league is important at that spot.
Having Lucas Patrick and Risner, having a couple veterans there, that does help balance out having Fairchild and Rivers in the mix, some really young guys. Having that veteran leadership is important. Also, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this. You didn't mention his name, but having some of that stability with those guys at guard, does that make you incentivize you to go find a different swing tackle other than Cody Ford stepping in because you don't need him to back up 4 positions on the offensive line anymore?
Yeah, I mean, certainly that feels like the one offensive move that needs to happen this offseason is find one of these swing tackles that can take over. It just doesn't feel like it should be Cody Ford right now. This wasn't a great season for him. I think he earned a lot of trust in 24 for what he did, and they like his versatility, but this year just was not that in the background for him. And so who knows what they do there. It feels like that's an area where they would need an upgrade, the swing tackle. I do think it's in play in round 1 because you could draft a tackle that would then be Orlando Brown's eventual replacement, and he wouldn't have to play immediately. Orlando plays this year. That guy's there in case anybody gets hurt, gives him a year to develop. We've seen that plan utilized before, and if it's a weak draft, like it is right now at the top, and the best thing in front of you, is a tackle, then maybe you say, okay, let's do it. Even though we don't need it right now, let's do it. Or maybe he plays guard right now and plays tackle later. Maybe that's something that they would consider, depending on what the board was in front of them. But it's really it's one of the few positions on offense I think you could potentially validate and say, okay, I get that.
And I like this next question we have. I don't know if it says more about the player or the state of this defense, but he says, am I nuts to think Jalen Davis is a top 5 player on this defense? I can't help but wonder what would have happened if coaches recognized that Dak should have been outside sooner and Jalen Davis in the slot immediately. How many other dudes are not playing that should be?
Oh, yeah. I mean, not a lot. Almost everybody's played.
Yeah.
I think everybody's gotten a chance to be like, can you do something? I don't really know who else you're looking for outside of the obvious that we've said all year, which is Tyson Anderson. I mean, we know that. We've beaten that to death at this point. The thing about the JD move, while it's been great, it came because Cam Taylor-Britt got hurt. And I think there was still some good happening with Cam. Dax wasn't a disaster on the nickel. Like he was doing fine in there. And the hope was that you would have Turner and Cam getting stuff straightened out and Dax. And when you didn't have Cam anymore, it was like, well, maybe let's get this run for Dax on the outside. I don't feel like that's something that should have happened earlier. I mean, a guy just coming off the practice squad and stabilizing everything, as much as you love JD, is just rare to think that it's going to happen like that. And I think it's partially is also Dax kind of proving once again that the outside is a great spot for him. So could it have happened earlier? Yeah, maybe. There's a lot of things of the thing turning around that you would have liked to have seen happen earlier. It didn't. We've gone through that ad nauseum here. But I don't think there's anybody else that I'd be like, oh man, besides you maybe wanted to see Tyson Anderson, as many people have with what happened with Geno Stone this year.
And our next question here is, can Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter move to being depth guys or special teamers next year? Or do you think they're ruined by being failed starters?
I don't think they're ruined. I think you can point them to how they got better as the year went along at things. Between missed tackles, seeing stuff a little cleaner, the defense generally being less, getting gouged less. You can point to some progress and hope that they can take a jump next year. That said, it's, to me, one of the biggest questions of this offseason is what happens there. Do they make the aggressive move at a position they don't love to invest in? Do they try to fix this thing? Do they force those guys to be in some kind of a battle, to be in the second or third or fourth spot with two free agents or one? Are there none? Do they run it back with these guys claiming that look at the progress they made, they'll be better next year? It's what scares me the most about how this thing unfolds, just because of the history of not totally valuing linebacker and safety. But for that fact, and that they did invest in those guys with draft picks. So they don't love to push those draft picks down, even though they haven't been great. It's a variable for me of this offseason is what happens with them. But I think they should be coming to terms with the fact that they're going to be in some kind of a competition next year. And it's just a matter of if somebody else is clearly ahead of them or if they're trying to fend somebody else off.
I mean, we talked about how the problem with Lou Anarumo not playing Myles Murphy. He needs time to develop. He needs playing time and experience. These guys are getting that. Does that hurt their development if they do bring in like one splashy, starter next year, and then somebody is a depth piece? Maybe they move on from Oren Burks. You still need some more talent in that linebacker locker room in general. Like
depth
even if
necessary.
You're running it back with those guys, you still need another starting level player in the mix there. And maybe Barrett Carter is just your extra, your backup. And I don't know if that really would destroy their development like the lack of playing time has for Myles Murphy. Like he came around eventually. But I don't know that you can really afford to run that back with those two as starters either. So
no, these guys get hurt. Like there's nothing wrong with having somebody who's a death piece who just played the whole year. Like if Demetrius Knight is your third linebacker or fourth linebacker, that's good. And if he takes enough of a jump in camp that you're like, man, he's playing awesome, he really seeing stuff this year, then he jumps over top of whoever you have in front of him. Good. That's good for everybody. Like, he does it just because you need more talent at the top of that room. Those guys should not be looked at as the top of your room.
Yeah.
And if they can play themselves to becoming the top of the room, that's the type of competition you need in there anyway. That position is a problem. And so go out there, get some real veterans that have played, that know what they're doing. And I don't mind if one of them is somebody in his 20s and another one is somebody who's older, right? Like Demario Davis or what we've seen the Washington brought in, like Bobby Wagner, guys who are in their literally 35, age 36 season, but they've seen so much ball. They know what they're doing. They can be there as a placeholder and help mentor a room and care about winning. Like, I don't care what it looks like, but you just need more serious bodies in there that know what the hell they're doing and that can play at a high level, rather than you can't rely on the kids to just get better.
Yeah, when there's no depth there too, like at a position, you end up in that spot where you like go to your starting safety and they're like, okay, we know you're not good, so we're going to take some of your money back, but also we have nobody else, so you still have to start. That's a situation you want to avoid.
You wouldn't want that. No, that'd be terrible.
We have an ambush question here for you.
Okay.
This is from Jason. He sent us a YouTube clip about a hockey reporter who was interviewing somebody in a press conference, and the guy just kept giving him like short, clipped answers to everything. And then finally, the reporter just said, "Why are you being so pissy?" Like, he just called him out mid-interview. So he kind of posed that. He wants to know, like, who would your viral moment be if you had to run, pass, or boot? Who you would want to call out as being in a pissy mood? Trey Hendrickson on a franchise tag, whichever wide receiver is next to get into it with Jalen Ramsey, or James Harrison just to start off a locker room interview. Thank you for what you do to your bodies. That's from Jason. So you got a run, pass, or boot. Which one you would most likely prefer to have your viral moment with?
Well, I would probably take the person least likely to attack me after I said that. So I'm running with the receiver. I would hope it would be T, because he's the kindest, softest of the bunch. Like, Jamar's got fire. Jamar would just laugh at me. I feel like I think the receivers would be fine, actually. And I really think about it. Like, but am I calling James Harrison anything other than sir? No, and the same with Trey. Like, you've seen what happens on the field when the switch gets flipped up. I don't want any part of that. I'm looking out for my personal well-being on this one. If you're going to make me do this, think
about the viral moment though. That would be good for the show. If you got beat up in the locker room, like you take the lumps.
Everybody on earth watching me get beat up by James Harrison for being a jerk totally sounds like something that would be great for me. I love it. Yeah, good
for the network.
Yeah, good. I come on the next show all bandaged and bruised up.
Yeah.
No, I don't want that.
Growler bet this week. What do we got?
I'm going with Trey McBride receiving yards. So Trey McBride is having a monster year. I mean, the Cardinals are just feeding him. He has 109 receptions for 1,098 yards already. I mean, he is just having a huge year. Of late, let's see, 2 weeks ago against Houston, he had 12 for 134 and 2 touchdowns.
Oof.
In a game against San Francisco, he had 10 for 115 and a touchdown. The previous week before that against Seattle, he had 9 for 127. He has just put up huge games. And as you know, the Bengals defense against tight ends, not super, right?
Not great.
So I think, what does this number end up at? What does Trey McBride end up doing to the Bengals defense? How far along have they come? We saw what Darren Waller had a couple of big catches for them last week for the Dolphins before that game kind of got out of hand. We know that Arizona is going to be scheming stuff up to try to force feed him the ball. All the play action, all that stuff's going to happen, trying to get Trey McBride involved. How much does he get involved? Or do the Bengals defense shut him down and give everybody hope and say, we don't need any free agent linebackers?
We fixed the tight end problem.
Look at the coverage against Trey McBride. If they can stop him, they can stop him. So send that in to the Growler podcast gmail.com, and you can have some drinks on us at our next live show, or we'll arrange something if you can't get down, because we have a live show this weekend and before the Browns game, but those will be our last 2 of the year, so we'll arrange something if you win and we can't get it to you.
A couple quick stand-up comedy plugs as we wind down this episode. I'm going to be in Appleton, Wisconsin this weekend for a couple shows, Friday, Saturday, and then big show on January 3rd in Cincinnati at Commonwealth Comedy Club. So all you local Growl pals, get tickets to that. I'd love to see as many of you there as possible. I'll be in Fort Wayne for New Year's Eve. Lovely Fort Wayne. I'm very excited about that. And then in January, I'm going to Michigan, Florida, Indiana, Iowa, and Tennessee. And then a bunch of other tour dates on the schedule now. So
you're all over the place. Big January for you.
Yeah, at least I get to go to Tampa. Like that weighs out. Going to Des Moines in January, going to Michigan in January. At least I also get to go to Tampa. So it evens it out a little bit on that front.
You might want to keep a close eye on the long range forecast for the Midwest, because I feel like that's a lot of potential driving through snowstorms in your future.
Yeah, the Michigan one, that being a little one-nighter in a city in a lovely little theater, like it's a great theater, but it's not an easy place to get to. You can't just fly into that one. I will definitely be flying to Des Moines and to St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm not going to try those.
You don't want to do the full drive?
No, I
mean,
can't.
You're driving to Appleton, which is very impressive of you.
That's not easy to get to. It's not another one.
And flying in there and finding hotels and doing all that during a Packers home weekend. Any Bengals fans that tried to get there early this year can attest how hard that is. That's why you're doing the drive. We did the drive. Jay did the drive. Jay did the full drive home on the last one, which was one of the most amazing feats I've ever heard. I don't recommend doing that.
Yeah.
Split it up if you can.
Right. I don't have that luxury. I'll be driving home after the show Saturday, so I can be there for our live show on Sunday, and want to see as many of you there as we can. It's my birthday, so come on out. Celebrate my birthday,
Yeah, birthday show. Happy birthday to Mark.
Yeah. I mean, nobody cares about birthdays once you're an adult. Like, that's legit. So but
should I cancel the cake, or do I bring the cake?
Yeah, you know what? Bring the cake. The people need the cake. Just the giant big surprise. And I just see we're about to wheel it out, and you just have that one tear coming down your cheek as I'm like, birthdays suck. We don't need to acknowledge birthdays. And you just turn it around, take it back into the Tom's Watch Bar kitchen.
Maybe you can give a version of the Joe Burrow sad birthday press conference for us.
Right. You kind of mopey.
Yeah, let it all out and just talk about how you're just trying to figure out what your future looks like, and you're super sad about being older and what you're going to do next.
You know what I don't like is the fact that we told everybody what we're giving away on these shows. We tell people what they get. Like our Christmas show, we told everybody all these great prizes they get. Joe Burrow plays that too close to the vest. That's what I don't appreciate. You got to put that stuff out there for the people. We tell our people, we get our fans and our listeners and the people that come to our live shows. We always have great stuff for them, and that will be the case again this Sunday.
It will be. All right, Dad Life, before we head out, what do you got?
Of course, holiday dad life. We had a fine Christmas. One of the 3 had the flu, so that was a little bit of a bummer. We also had the 5-year-old pulled this move. I guess she just turned 6, but it's still a real toddler, kindergarten level move. She pulled out a brand new thing that she wanted for Christmas that she told Santa. Somehow she'd already sent off her letter, but then 4 days before Christmas, very much wanted a VR headset, which is not something that a child should have at that age. No. So she was a little bit bummed on that, even though she got almost everything she asked for. All of her top priorities were checked off the list. She was bummed that she did not get that last second thing. So
she just found Santa somewhere and let him know.
Just spoke it into the universe, and then was disappointed that she did not get a toy for 13-year-olds. But I do have to give a huge shout out to my wife and to all the moms out there probably that made a lot of that holiday magic happen. I've been touring a lot more this year, so a lot of that holiday planning and execution fell on my wife. I was still part of it. I wasn't an absentee dad, but I know that moms have a heavy lift during the holiday season. So shout out to all of you Growl Pal moms.
Yeah, agreed. Same here. Especially I struggle because it's such a busy time for us here. And so I always feel like I would love to have a family Christmas in July, like just to do it once, so I can actually have a little bit more time to execute something, because it's just almost impossible. And so,
Yeah.
shout out to my wife who very much is driving the magic bus when it comes to making Christmas happen around here, because it's hard to get to all that stuff. But I do say this, a gift for my daughter was she wanted a CD player. Like we've now reached, so now we've reached where record players were cool. Now it's a CD player that looks like a record player, but it plays CDs on it. And she wanted, of course, the Taylor Swift CD. She got 1989. And so she's like playing that on her CD player, super excited. It's super cool and like retro or whatever. And I just can't believe we've reached the CD player being retro for people of my age. And so as soon as she brought it out and started playing it, she's like, I have one CD. She's just playing it over and over again. I was like, I had long ago forgotten that I had my cases, my books of CDs in storage downstairs. So I immediately, Christmas morning, ran down the stairs with like a flash, and went and I got my CD book, right? And came up, and I was like, hey, there's a lot of history of American art and music in here. We can introduce you to some stuff. I can put these on there. The just disrespect in saying no to me has been a little tough to handle. Just could not want less to do with them. Like, look, I'm just saying, we can find people that influence Taylor Swift. I tried that angle. Do you know who Taylor Swift's biggest influences are? I bet I have something from them in here somewhere. We could play you something, some classics. Doesn't have to be hip hop. Doesn't have to be Pearl Jam. I've got stuff from the 70s, from the 60s, from the 40s. I got BB King. Any BB King? You want some BB King? No. Very much stoutly rejected. So she just keeps listening to 1989 over and over again. But I think I'm going to sneak into her room when she's not here and play a couple. I want to find out, because I have a lot of mixed CDs, right? We all make
these. I was about to ask about that. You got some things you burned?
Know is Spring Break 2K1 is one of the ultimate mixtape CDs of all time. And I'm going crazy not having anywhere to play it right now. So I think I'm sneaking in there when we're done here. I'm going to go try to get that thing rotating.
It's wild. If she gets this new toy, she only has one CD currently. And you're like, hey, I have all this other stuff that will work with your toy. You want to try some of these? Nope, I'm good. We're just listening to this over and over rather than anything that you might know about. Forget that. You know nothing. Dads never do.
Never do.
Yeah, you'd have to explain to her what Spring Break is and all that whole concept. Show her
you're right.
TV clips and stuff. Like, this is what you do on Spring Break. Here's the music. And then really force that in. So just listen to that on your own time. Just steal that CD player.
You're probably right. She probably doesn't need to hear country grammar just yet.
Yeah, that's a good call.
We'll get there. All right. Thanks everybody for listening and for watching and all the support that's been sent in this week. It's been great to see. And I think it's definitely making an impact. We will be back with the walkout, of course, on Sunday. I believe I'll have Charlie pinch hitting with me again this week. So looking forward to that. We'll have the recap of Bengals Cardinals. Get in your growler bets to us and all of that stuff. We hope to see you at BetMGM on Sunday between 10 and 11. We will be down there giving stuff away. If you've got grievances, you've got questions, whatever you've got, let us know. Come on down. We hope to see you there. Have a safe trip to Appleton and back, Mark, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday as well. So
see you guys on Sunday.
Have a good one.